we've entered an age into where the barrier to be able to create video and content is different. Like 15 years ago, when I was in high school, the idea of being a filmmaker was so crazy. It was like, man, you gotta go to school. You know what I'm saying? Like the barrier was so high. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, yeah, cats can pretty much within a month go online, learn, watch some guy, what cameras to buy, what settings to use, and can be making videos within a couple weeks, right? And not a month. Yeah. And so like that's crazy. And so the internet has sped that up and has changed that barrier to entry. And I think that's great. I think that's awesome. Good. I think what we're going to continue to see will be a subculture, not even a subculture, but there will be a little bit of a difference though of people who their emphasis isn't so much on creating content, but telling stories.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the Same Business, Different Day podcast. I am your host, Zeke Corley. And like I told you guys before, we're going to do returning guests this season here and there. So we got our international hero today. Your favorite artist.
Man, out here trying to tee me up, man. For that. Come on.
George Coletrain is in the house, man.
I appreciate being back. Man, I love being back. I love being here. I love being able to hang out for a little bit. So
it's good to see you, man. Hey, let's do it. Every time I get to see you, I got to get you into the podcast studio.
I know. I miss being around the office, man, and being around seeing faces. It's been a busy season for me, but it's just good to be back. It's just cool to walk in and see faces and hang out. So,
I love it. I love it, man. You remember the first episode we did?
I do. I actually last night I pulled it up on YouTube, and I was like, man, it was like a year and a half.
Yeah, that was February 2021.
February, yeah. So.
Not exactly.
In my head, it wasn't that long ago, but I was like, oh man, it's been a minute. So yeah.
You got a little taller, stronger.
I wish that was true. I wish I got taller. I've gotten rounder. You know what I'm saying? I got a little. We had baby number 2, so I got a little more dad fat on me.
Man,
and I got more gray hairs. That's why this hat's on right. You know what I'm saying? But we here now. I
love it, man. I love it. And when I saw you, man, I embrace you. I had to tell you, man, I'm really proud for you, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. I'm pretty sure I talked and kind of alluded to this in our first episode, but I know who I am as a product. A lot of people that I'm around, and I always I'm thankful for my community, like everyone that pours into me, everyone who gives me the time of day, advice and all that. So I appreciate it when, people like rooting for me to succeed, man. That means a lot to me. Mm-hmm. And so, and I love seeing my community succeed and do well and do what they're supposed to do. So yeah, when I see people, it's all love, even though we haven't seen each other in a couple months, just because I haven't been physically around, it's all love. And I'm thankful for all support. So yeah, man, I'm so stoked.
Well, you're certainly on my mind, man. Always, man. So that's why I keep an eye out on you on social media, 100%. Whatever. And wherever I can catch you. And then when I did text you, say, come through.
I made it happen. I'm here.
What's up,
yes,
man.
sir.
So I got a couple of the quotes, some of those memories from the first episode. Some of those ones that.
Let's see if I'll still rock with them. I might be like, never mind.
But that's important too, right?
A year and a half later, be like, I don't know what that guy was talking about. He was on something.
That's important too. That's important too. The growth, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And because we know who our listeners are. Listeners are the entrepreneurs or the folks that may already have a business, and they're trying to figure out what their next step is and keep pushing forward. And why do they keep pushing forward?
For sure.
But then there's also folks who still thinking about taking that leap. They didn't hear all your advice the first time around.
I hear it.
So one of my favorite quotes, man, from the first episode, it said, if you're not getting better, someone is probably passing you.
Yeah.
The importance of progress.
I still rock with that one. That's for sure. I mean, and I think, sometimes, and I'm learning this right now with having now 2 kids. Mm-hmm. And so there are seasons. And so like sometimes you do have to take maybe a little bit of foot off the gas business wise and pour it back in family wise or whatever. But I think again, you were talking about a marathon, not a race. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so having that mindset to get back on the horse, keep moving forward and getting better, and sometimes it's getting better in your business. Sometimes it's getting, being more intentional, being better at home. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it looks different, but if you have that mentality in whatever it is, maybe it's you're doing a few more extra dishes, you know, whatever it is, but you're trying to get better. That mentality will follow you wherever you go, and when you jump back into the workplace. So yeah, I mean, I still rock with that one. That was I still co-sign.
Oh, I love it, man. I live by it, man. I absolutely love it. Another one that I like, and is really cool because you had just mentioned learning, right? You know, even at the stage where you are in your career, right? You're still talking about learning, reaching back and learning. And so one of the things that you mentioned was get a mentor and become a mentor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Doing both, right? Leading and influencing at the same time, still learning.
Yeah, man. I think, and maybe this might just be a passion of mine, but I just, you know, I really want whatever I have. I want to make sure everyone, like, I'm not hoarding on to stuff. I don't like this whole like, oh, I got it, so you gotta like, you know, gas me up for me to give it to you. Like, or no, whatever. Me. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I get, you know, for sure you gotta make your paper and stuff, but I'm not here to hold back things from people. I'm a product of people being generous with their time and their knowledge. I've been able to be in rooms with people and ask them questions, and they like are gracious enough to give me answers. So why would I ever, you know, be different? So yeah, so I think it's really important to always be intentional about asking people and having people pour into you. And if someone is gracious enough to do that for you, like, why would you not do it for someone else? And I think passing that down, I think as we do that as a community, whatever community you're in, you know, business wise or creative wise, or just even within your own, like maybe local community, if you create that culture, my dad used to always say, rising tides raises all ships. You know what I mean? So like when we're all in the bay together and there's more water, like everyone's boat floats higher.
That's right.
And that's my heart. That's my passion. So
I love it, man. Yeah. You know, I use that myself, especially even when it comes to networking. You know, sometimes you're in these networking environments and there are other insurance brokers there, right? There are other podcast networks there, whatever. I'm not interested in competition in that way. You know what I'm saying? If there's some information that I have, I'm here to give the game.
That's interesting.
You know?
I wonder how much of that is totally random, but I wonder how much, like, because sometimes I feel like networking has died in a sense with the younger generation. But I wonder if that's a product of like social media, because I think social media is more competition. Seems like it can be. I mean, it kind of depends on people, but it feels like like the true art of networking locally. Like like we're all in this together. I feel like that I don't see that as often as I feel like as I used to.
Yeah. Well, you know, for me, that's why I try to stay grounded in that way, right?
Totally.
So that's why, you know, I'm on the executive board with the Vista Chamber of Commerce. I'm over there with the San Marcos Chamber of Commerce. We do actual events in person, shake strangers' hands.
Of course.
Right? And then you get to see who is a quote unquote competition. They're right there in your face. And then you guys can have conversations. But for me, I'm still about building them up.
People
if there's
up.
some game that I can give, I'm giving the game for free. That's what this show is giving the game for 100%. Free. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's paying for this podcast. Yeah. You know, so that's that. Right. But then I get what you're saying, though, when it comes to the social media. I think one thing, though, with the social media, they build a network and they build it fast. Right. You get your likes, you get the follows. And now you guys are my network, wherever you are. But then if they decide to become competition or they decide that they don't like you anymore, you just block them. Right. So the networking isn't realistic because it's like, that person still exists.
Totally. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
It still may be a competition, but you're just kind of moving things around like a chessboard or something.
It's interesting. I've been doing a lot of research on my own social media wise. I mean, I'm in that space a lot. I've done a lot of work in that space, but even just been doing a lot of research for it almost on a personal level. Okay. And just how like tendencies because what's crazy to me about social media is that it's so new. Like it's so new is like, it changed so fast. Like I remember coming out of high school and like Facebook was getting big, and it was just a fun thing. You know what I'm saying? Like no one's thinking about like starting businesses on there. It was just like, oh yeah, we're just connecting with your homies or whatever. And now it's like this multi-billion-dollar industry. And you know what I mean? It's so interesting. I'm like, bro, that was. Well, I guess now it's 20 years ago. So it's still relatively new. You know what I'm saying? But like that's crazy how fast things have evolved and changed and stuff. So yeah, man, it was just kind of
But
random
also,
point.
The thing for me though too is the way the goalpost moves, right?
Yeah.
Because it's sure. let's say it's social media. Now we got to learn this. We'll figure it out.
Sure.
Just like we learned email, or just like we moved from cassettes to CDs.
100%.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
whatever.
for sure.
Sure, okay. First of all, you're saying, I don't know.
Yeah.
But this one, you got to move real fast. If you better get your name. If you don't get your app name today, somebody else going to get it, whatever.
100%.
But then what if it moves from, people talk about Facebook like it's old people stuff.
I know.
And then now they're saying, you're not on TikTok.
That's all within like
the
10,
next
12 years that happened.
And
Like, that's crazy.
You got to jump right on and learn something new.
Yeah.
Is that something that you really want to do? Like I said, I shake hands with strangers.
Yeah. And I mean, ultimately, I think that's really important. And I think that, but I just think, getting to know people and all that stuff. I think it's really important to do that. And, I understand healthy competition. I understand, you got to, make the bottom line work. I understand all of that on a practical level. Mm-hmm. But I think also, too, I think there's a lot of, I think we've lost a little bit in that getting to know people and rock with people side by side. Mm-hmm. And when there's moments you got to do what you got to do, for sure. But it's not because I'm trying to cut anybody down. You know what I mean? Sure. And ultimately, again, as I learn stuff, especially when I'm interacting with a younger generation, I feel like I actually said a younger generation now. Mm-hmm. I have interns of people, in their early 20s and stuff. Hey man, like this was given to me for free, or even if I had to work for it, like I want you to be able to, jump off, and not have to start where I started. And that just to me is something that has been instilled in me from, I think, just from my parents and my community growing up. And so I'm just passionate about that.
I love it, man. I mean, I respect, well, first of all, 2 kids that he talked about the younger generation.
Yeah. Hey, I'm 30, fam, so I may not look at the black don't crack, but I'm 31. I'm 31 now.
31 ain't
hey,
a
man,
big number.
So you know what I'm saying. I know that some people you like that's young, but I ain't no baby. You know what I'm saying. I might have been born at night, but not last night. You know what I'm saying. I've been around the block a few times.
Funny,
just a couple times.
I love it.
Yeah,
man. Well, you lose those hours of sleep, you age faster.
Hey, I'm telling you, bro. I growing up, man, my 20s. It's funny because in your 20s you out wilding, hang out, and now I'm like, bro, I'm looking at the clock at 10:30, like, bro, I am tired, bro. I didn't get these sleep right now. So it's a real that dad energy is different.
San Diego beer lovers, come join us on the Pioneer Beer Trail, a free narrated tour of 4 of Vista's iconic craft brewers, all from the convenience of your phone. Simply download the free show at vistamadetours.com or find Vista Made Tours on your favorite podcast provider like Spotify or iTunes. Then fire up the show and you'll hear fascinating backstories, beer favorites, and food recommendations from the brewers themselves as you travel from spot to spot. It's free, fun, and the easiest way to learn about some of Vista's originals, including Booze Brothers, Belching Beaver 980, Aztec, and 5 Suits. So come travel the Pioneer Beer Trail at vistamadetours.com or from wherever you find your podcasts.
I know you wasn't expecting this type of commercial of another podcast coming in, but whoever you were listening to, they're irrelevant at the moment. What I'm saying right now is we have a brand new podcast that you should stop listening to whoever you listen to in this moment and listen to us at Odd Pairing. It is about adult beverages and
Wait, I'm supposed to tell you about that.
And Paige is going to tell you a little bit more.
So it's adult beverages, food, community, culture, and basically anything else we find interesting through the drinking.
Yeah. And as you can see, we've been drinking a lot today because we already did the episode. So at any time, you guys can find us when you finish with this podcast, whoever you're listening to. You can find us at YouTube. You can find us on Spotify and iTunes and anywhere else you get your
Instagram
podcast stuff. And you can also find us on Instagram, where you will find hilarious memes and some snippets from our show at Odd Pairing Pod. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hi, I'm Jeff Fox, founder of Star Fox Media. We're a digital marketing and video production company that focuses on serving small businesses here in Vista, California. We have the team and all of the equipment necessary to produce, film, edit, and distribute your podcast to as many people as possible. For more information, you can reach out to us via email at info@starfox.media or give us a call at 760-385-3117. Let Star Fox Media help you tell your brand story today.
Okay, so back to the first episode, right?
Yeah.
Because still continuing this conversation about social media, I remember specifically you mentioning wanting to get away from being looked at as the YouTube guy, right?
Yeah.
And then, but I'm not trying to just straight out down social media. I know it's working for a lot of
100%.
people, and obviously if there's money out there to be made as a business
your
doing
money,
it,
100%.
get it. But like you said, you are looking at studying some of the tendencies as well,
Yeah.
right? And it is changing, folks.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, for sure. I'm not against social media. I'm not like, I'm not that old. I'm not like, you know what I'm saying? But I think,
write everything on paper.
Yeah. I think like it's this for me, I have a curiosity about things. And I don't know if this is part of my, just my desire to want to tell stories and understand that. But there's so many things to me that are fascinating about people and their tendencies and culture and how we moved in the last, like, why do people react this way now? And you know what I'm saying? So, I think especially kind of my generation, I've grown up in an age where there really wasn't internet.
Right.
And TV was our big technology thing. To now it's like, well, yeah, no, I'm up on all technology. I know how to use all these things. There's I was just talking to my homie Steve, and I was like, bro, sometimes I'm on TikTok and I do feel old, and I was like, I don't like that. You know what I mean? So I've seen that. I've seen kind of the analog world and digital world come to fruition in my lifetime. And just to see how I think it's had a pretty big effect on culture. And so those are things that just I think for me are really interesting. As I write stories and as I as I do a lot of creative writing and stuff like that, it just to me seems like there's so much the world revolves around it. So I'm always curious as to why, what effects it has on people and their behaviors. And so it started off as kind of a personal curiosity to some degree. And again, too, it sounds weird, but when you have kids, you start thinking about stuff like that. Like,
Certainly.
you just start thinking about weird stuff like that. Like, yo, why? Like, why is that happening? And so it started off as kind of a personal curiosity, but again, I'm active on social media. I'm launching a business this year in a few weeks. Once this episode drops, I'll be launching a business this year, but it's all centered around media, social media. So I'm not against it in any way, shape, or form. But I think it's fascinating. I really do. I think
It
it's
is absolutely
fascinating.
I mean, we're in a whole new era. It's a new world, right?
It's crazy. Like,
So
it's
tell
really
me
crazy.
this from a filmmaker's perspective.
Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, I don't know how you label those folks, but those folks are out there using cameras.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Some of them using really good cameras. They're doing some editing.
Oh man.
Right?
These guys are crazy. No, 100%.
They're right. I mean, it might be short. That's the one thing for me.
It's
It's like,
cool.
is this permanent, like, media? Or is it, I did my 6 seconds, I did my 30 seconds, and then that's trash, and now we're going to do another one.
I mean, yeah, I think right now, obviously in the world, like there's so much emphasis on like labeling people and different things. And I did that too. I remember when I first came out, I was a little cocky about it. I'd be like, I'm a filmmaker. Yeah, so social media. You know what I mean? And working with Glenn had changed a lot of my perspective on that.
Shout out, Glenn.
Shout out to my homie Glenn. Belief in fatherhood.
Belief.
That's my guy.
Yes, sir.
I love that dude, man.
Yeah.
And so working with him changed a lot of my perspective on that. I think we are entering. We have entered into, and I think partially a lot of that's due with cell phones and just our access to the internet so often. We've entered an age into where the barrier to be able to create video and content is different. Like 15 years ago, when I was in high school, the idea of being a filmmaker was so crazy. It was like, man, you gotta go to school. You know what I'm saying? Like the barrier was so high. Now it's like, yeah, cats can pretty much within a month go online, learn, watch some guy, what cameras to buy, what settings to use, and can be making videos within a couple weeks,
right?
And not a month.
Yeah.
And so like that's crazy. And so the internet has sped that up and has changed that barrier to entry. And I think that's great. I think that's awesome.
Good.
I think what we're going to continue to see will be a subculture, not even a subculture, but there will be a little bit of a difference of people who do their emphasis isn't so much on creating content, but telling stories. I think those are two separate things, and to a degree. I think obviously people who create content can tell stories and things of that nature, but I think there are people who love to write they love to break down stories in a way that is more traditional to like filmmaking and certain acts and all different stuff. So I think there's people who will do it more as an artistic expression, and I think there's people who will do it as more as a kind of a story of their life or day in the lives, vlogging, all different stuff. And again, I'm not poo-pooing any of that. I think that stuff's awesome.
Yeah.
But I think because now there's so much access and people watch so much content. Some people might tend to more the TikTok type stuff and the funny, and a little bit more of that, where the production value isn't as important. But there's some people who really still love the art side of it and really love, creating elaborate sets and the art department and that stuff's cool. I think there's a place. I think there's more than enough screen time for all of those to survive and do well. And yeah, learning to celebrate one another and it's not a competition between one another. But yeah, it's crazy though. Like when you start just thinking about how many people just make video like on a daily basis, it's like, man, like, again, and that wasn't, everybody. And that wasn't the case 15 years ago.
Right.
And it's just changed. And I think the world's going to change with it. And we've already seen that. We've seen platforms, YouTube, TikTok, all these different platforms are coming up to accommodate that. But I still think you'll have, your Netflixes and your movie theaters and your, all that different stuff. I think you'll just start to see more of, I don't want to say a distinction between the two, but you'll just start to see a little bit more, people kind of maybe set up in different camps. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but I think that you'll just see that happen naturally because, people want to put labels and everything. And that's interesting how that, some people resist that. Some people embrace it. Some people don't care. But yeah,
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned the labels thing because I know you love music the way I do.
Yeah.
And there's all these genres. I remember when that started to become an issue where people were arguing, like, stop putting me in this corner, stop telling me I'm this. And I mean, people will just come out with their next album, be just a complete different genre. Just like, you just can't say I'm one thing.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying?
It's funny. I just had this conversation with someone. I feel like what's happening a little bit to a degree is kind of like within the video space, kind of happened almost about 10 years ago with music, when music streaming, your Apple Musics and your Spotify's and Pandora became a thing. And so people were able to just make music. Like, I know cats who just make music and it's just for fun. Like they're just out there and you know what I mean? Like they're just, I have this friend who made this whole song based off, he did like sampling LaCroix cans. And it was just a fun thing for him. Like that was like, you know what I mean? And that was cool. But then also, people who are really into the artistic expression, I mean, they know the history of, this genre and this music and this musician. And so like to them, like the music is very artistic and cathartic and there's a richness to that. And so, but I think when you have platforms like, these musical platforms and the access is so great, it opens the door. The front door just gets wider. And so a lot more people are able to walk through.
That's right.
And again, the industry just changes to accommodate that. And again, I really don't have a problem with that. I think that's great. But I think you will start to see people just kind of, you'll notice, I think when you see people, you'll go, okay, like they're just a little bit different in how they create, but all ways to create are great, So.
Yeah. Well, if your buddy makes any money on his music, he's gonna have to pay LaCroix.
Yeah, I was like, man, it was funny. He was in my office one day and just within 2 hours made the song, and I was like, man, you better send that to him because you're trying to get a royalty or something.
That's awesome, man. One thing that I heard you mention earlier, which is something that was you mentioned a lot in the first episode, and every time I talk to you, really, is that you speak in seasons.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I'm interested in you giving us kind of, how you define that, why you define it that way, and then maybe a couple of examples of past seasons you had and what season you're in now.
Yeah. A pastor told me that like years ago, and it always just stuck out to me, this idea of, well, first, I think, your life is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Sure.
And so, I mean, ultimately the goal is to, live a long, 70, 80, 90 years, a nice full life. And just like in a year or whatever, like there's seasons, there's your spring season, there's winter, there's summer, there's fall. And I think in your own life, like you'll see there's certain seasons that your life will go through. And I think what's really important is if you're able to diagnose a season you're in or season you're coming up on, you won't freak out. So like an example would be, like so right now we have 2 kids in the house. Yeah. We got our oldest boy just turned 3 and we have a 7-week-old in the house. Yeah. So my life looks drastically different right now than it did 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so 4 years ago, we didn't have no kids. And so I'm out here, I'm taking every job I can. I'm on sets. Yeah, you can't pay me? It's cool, I'll be out there. I'm out there just doing whatever, you know what I mean? Now, the season of life I'm in, I've got a wife at home and two young boys. Like my life looks different. Mm-hmm. And so understanding the season of life I'm in is like, I have to be a little bit more intentional. And that's not good or bad, but it's just like, I know, man, like sleep is important and spending time at home with my kids is important to me. Mm-hmm. And so when you know the season you're in, it makes you move a little bit different. And vice versa, like maybe your season where, maybe creatively your ideas aren't firing, you know what I'm saying? But if you know, like, hey, this is just a season, when I say season, what I'm saying is like, it's temporary. Yeah. And so like, when I know like, hey, this is just temporary, like I might just be in a drought right now. I'm not going to make crazy drastic. I'm not going to, the sky is falling. Right. Maybe I should get out of this because it's not my thing. It's like, no, this is a season. Mm-hmm. It's dry right now. Yeah. And we're going to go through it. Like, it's cool. Like, and what I know is that when this season ends, there's going to be another season on the backside where, man, now things are popping. And so I don't pull out or do something crazy or, you know what I'm saying? Like, really just get sideways because, you understand that things are temporary. And same things, when things are going great, I'm not going to go out there pretending I'm puffing out my chest. Man, because it's like, as quickly as this came, it can go. Yes, you know what I mean? Yes, and so ultimately what I want to do at the end of my life and look back over the marathon is realize like, whatever season I was in, I maximized it. And whether that meant like things are high and things are popping off and, financial things are growing, influence is popping, it's cool. But even when things weren't great or quote unquote, like, maybe things weren't going the way I had planned them to go, I still was intentional. I still was active in my community. I was still doing the things that I wanted to do as a man and as a family man, and as a man of faith. And I didn't let the season dictate my actions. And I think that's what I see often is that people will let the season dictate their action versus like, no, I'm going to dictate what happens in this season. Even if, again, the circumstances I can't control them. Yeah. But the stuff I can control, I'm still going to move forward intentionally and do what I need to do. And it's kind of like that, even right now with my kids. Like, I can't be out and on every set and every shoot that I wish I could be on, but I still can be really intentional in creating other moments and being creative and being, being present when I can be and all that type of stuff. And that way, I get the end of the season, be like, I still maximized it. I still was able to get all the juice out the juice out the lemon that my mom used to say.
You were the best man that you can be 100% during this season, whether it's dry or not. Yeah.
It's perspective. Like it's the gift of perspective. You ever like have like an argument with like a 3-year-old or like a 5-year-old and like to them, like all they know is this one, like, you know what I'm saying? Like their life is over, or even I used to do a lot of like, I used to work with a lot of youth. And high schools and stuff, and they get in a relationship and they break up. And, my life's over. But when you've been through it, and you're like, it's gonna be all right. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like this little relationship that you were like, I'm sure it hurts, but like ultimately you're gonna be okay. Yeah. And it's with the idea of seasons for me is the gift of perspective. It's like, it's gonna be okay. Mm-hmm. I've been through rough seasons and it all worked out. I've been through great seasons and like it didn't give me purpose. Like the accolades didn't give me purpose. Like you know what I mean? And so I think just the gift of perspective, and I think that's where like mentorship is really big too, because you'll have people who I believe in part of the mentorship is having people speak into your life who are, wiser, have had some experience in the field or just in life where you want to be. Mm-hmm. Having mentors, having a mentor, like, you want to have a mentor to where they are in life is where you want to be when you get there. So if they're in their 50s, you're like, in my 50s, I want to be there. Like, I want my life to look like yours. I think that's really important. So when you have mentors like that, they can speak into your life and go, hey, you're okay. Like, just calm down. And I've had mentors be like, hey, yo, you just gotta chill, bro. Like, you just need to go home, hang out with your wife, hang out with your kids, it's all right. Like, this 1 year isn't going to offset your whole life. You're going to be okay. And I think that's just really important. And I think having that mindset about seasons is really about it's just the idea of perspective and, just not getting sideways. People just kind of act like the world's falling. And sometimes, sometimes it is, but most times it's not,
Well, yeah, I mean, there's been some tough times.
For sure.
Yeah, there's been some tough times lately, because it reminds me of, this season I've been talking a lot, this season of the show.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot more about mental health as well, right?
Yeah.
And I've shared about my kids going through that COVID year in school when everybody had to study from home.
Yeah.
Right. And when they were studying from home, I mean, at first you're thinking, oh, I'm not home.
Yeah.
This is
Summer.
Yeah. I'll just take care of this work and get back into bed.
Totally.
Next thing you know, you're feeling a little bit more depressed. You're not doing it at your desk. You're sitting in the bed doing it. You're not even putting on clothes. You keep your pajamas on and you're doing the work. You don't brush your teeth. You stay in your room a whole day and then the darkness sets in.
100%.
You understand? And so in order for me to pull, especially my daughter, out of that depression, had to be kind of that where I'm speaking to her and saying, this is not going to last. You don't have to give up on school. This is not what school is.
It's important to hear that.
Permanent,
it's important to hear that and get that into your spirit because people operate off hope. And so if they feel like there's not hope, but things won't get better, that's hard. It's hard to get up and to go to work or go to school or whatever. It's hard to do that when you think, man, it won't get better. So yeah, man, I think that's really vital and really important. And I think it's part of putting it into practice in your life. And again, I think that's part of that seeking mentorship. I think part of it is, speaking that vocally into your life. I think you just have to be intentional about it. Some people have a natural bend towards it, but I think for most of us, you just have to be intentional about creating those rhythms to where you don't, you don't just kind of slide off into the abyss.
I love it.
It's hard.
I love it, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate you sharing about that.
Yeah, thank you.
So, what you been up to, like, this past year and a half? What projects did you work on? What have you created that we need to be checking out for?
So we, beginning of the first quarter of 2022, we released a project called, it's a short film. It's called Mamba Forever. It's a love letter to basketball. And it's also a kind of an ode to Kobe Bryant. Being, who I am, basketball played a major part of my life and, just inspiring me as a kid. Like I loved basketball. I loved playing. I loved being around sports teams, all that. I think it had a really big impact on who I am as a person. And then obviously being from SoCal, Lakers was everything, anything and everything was Lakers. And growing up in the era I did, Kobe Bryant was kind of that and was the big inspiration for my life. And so, yeah, I mean, I was in a season of my life where I was writing a lot of scripts, but nothing really connected. And I had someone say, like, write what you know. Write what you know. And so I just started writing stuff based around some of just stuff that just felt real natural. And basketball was really a big part of that. And when I was actually writing this, it was right when he died. Like I was writing this and kind of in the middle of that he tragically passed.
Wow.
And then I ended up kind of changing a little bit of that to, again, really just kind of honor, for me personally, just the impact that he had on a generation and stuff. So yeah, we again, that was all during COVID, so that was difficult, but we ended up going to production for that at the beginning of this year, finished that and released that in May. Okay. We're going to do kind of a re-release of that in late August here for his birthday and for Kobe, for Mamba Day. So that's super fun.
Where can we
catch
so
that's on my YouTube, and also we're dropping it on Instagram as well.
Okay,
pretty much all socials, Instagram, Facebook.
Okay, I'll be looking out for that.
So so that's something the day his birthday is the 23rd, and I think Mamba Day is 8/20, or his Mamba Day is 8/24. So we haven't decided which day we're gonna drop it on.
Okay,
but it'll be on one of those 2 days. So yeah, we're excited about that. I have another script I had written. I'd actually pitched it to this company, but it got rejected. But I had another company pick it up and loved it. So we're in production. It's there's not really a name for it yet, but it's this whole idea about fatherhood. And again, so this came from that same season of writing what I knew.
Okay.
And I think we talked about this on my last podcast, but there was a situation with my dad where he got really sick.
Yeah.
And so we just got to spend me and my dad got to spend a lot of time together when he got sick. And then obviously, with our oldest son, and when I started writing this, we had just found out we were pregnant. And so I'd written this whole story about fatherhood and legacy. And it's this whole idea written around fatherhood and legacy and music, which was a big part of my relationship with my dad. Mm-hmm. He loved music, and he loved, we would go to the music store, the record store, and just for, Saturdays and just hang out for hours. And so there's this whole script I'd written around that concept. Mm-hmm. And so we started that production of that. And then funny enough, it got interrupted because my second son came early. And so we had to shut that down, but we're picking that up here at the end of August, and that should be released in September. And so that'll be on my, all my social stuff, YouTube and Instagram and stuff. So that's something I'm really excited about. That's a script. It's actually probably one of my favorite things I've written in the last probably 18 months or so.
That's great. You know what I like about that is, I'm reading this book, Questlove, Music is History. Yeah. And in the intro, he was talking about building bridges between eras. And that's how he knows history. Totally. From that, because, a lot of folks, and in teaching my kids, pushing them through school and all, when we talk about history, a lot of I tell them is just memorization. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just give them back what they gave you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But in your actual experiences or music things that, really you pick up on in life, those ones you'll remember. Right. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you'll remember dates. You'll definitely remember the sound. You remember where you were at that time. Yeah. You're talking about Kobe. You're talking about your father and your son being born right at that time, and you're kind of creating history between eras. Yeah. I like how you tell a story. And I think for me too, one of the things I've enjoyed, for me, it's like it's an act of preserving. Like it's preserving my like perspective on how things, like everyone's kind of got their own view and their own experiences growing up. But, like I think about, even just with this fatherhood script I'd written, I just thought about these moments that I had with my father that I wanted to be able to look back on as a kid, or I even wanted my kids to be able to look back and go like, that's what it was like. I think about, but it's like my kids being like, yo, you guys went to a record store? Like, what's a record store? No, but like, no, like that was a staple of my childhood. Those are things I remember, And so by me being able to write the story, and then again, because I love film, being able to create it through the medium of film, it's a way for me to have these like kind of textured touch points to be able to always help ground me as a human being. And so, and what I generally find is when I do stuff that I'm really connected with, there's other people like me who, man, I did that with my dad. Or man, like, even with the Kobe film, we had a lot of feedback of people being like, that was healing, to be able to see, like that, if you're growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, like that was your experience. Like you couldn't be a fan of basketball and not interact, either hate or love Kobe. You know what I mean? Sure. And so like some of the stuff that we'd written into that short film, it was just very like indicative of that time of growing up and falling asleep, watching basketball, all these different things that you would just do at that time period. And so I feel like, the more in touch you are with kind of your own touch points and your own anchors, there's generally people who have that same experience or have that same perspective. And so, that's been really fun. And we're really excited. I feel like this is a season of my life where, I'm entering a season of my life where I'm going to be much more, I'm going to get to share a lot more of the stuff that I've been writing for a while, which I'm really excited about. There's just been some doors and some stuff opening to where I feel like we're going to be able to create a lot of our original content and stuff that we've written and stuff. And so we're really excited about that. And we're going to be, dropping a lot of news on that coming up, but we're really excited about that. And again, it's just been part of that process and I love stuff that drives us, The Same Business Different Day podcast is brought to you by YourInsurancePlace.com. YourInsurancePlace.com is a conglomeration of two agencies, Network One Insurance and Bill Corley Insurance Agency. Their property and casualty agents and brokers specialize in commercial insurance of all types: general liability, workers' compensation, professional liability, auto, agribusiness, and much more. They also have great insurance carriers for your homes and autos. How do I know they are that good? Because I'm one of the agents. We believe in ourselves, and you will too. Contact us at yourinsuranceplace.com or call us direct at 866-384-0479. That's yourinsuranceplace.com.
Hi, I'm Rachel Beld, President and CEO of the Vista Chamber of Commerce. Over the last 20 years, I've had the privilege of living and working in Vista, and I've met some amazing people with amazing stories. And I'm thrilled to bring them to you as part of Velocity, the Vista Chamber podcast, where I interview the movers, shakers, and change makers impacting the Vista community and beyond. I hope you'll join me as we journey together to hear the stories of the people doing amazing things for our town. Velocity, the Vista Chamber podcast. Find us anywhere you get your podcasts.
Hello, friends. This is Joe Samo from the Samo Law Group. I am the host of Run It By My Lawyer. Over the years, I've had so many people that have had legal issues and legal questions and legal concerns. And I always, over the more than 20 years, I've been telling people, before you sign anything, before you do anything, if you have a problem, just run it by my lawyer, right? Just run it by me. And now I have a podcast doing just that. You can call me, you can email me, any questions you have. I love hearing from people and answering legal questions. And on our podcast, we've talked about everything from free speech, gun rights, anything you want to discuss, employment rights, everything. So you have an issue, run it by my lawyer and watch this podcast. You'll be entertained and you'll learn the law. Love to see you. You can find me anywhere, okay? YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whatever you want. And if you can't find me on some platform, let me know and I'll come find you. All right, thank you.
I got questions on the specifics about some of that.
Yeah.
But before I get into that, I'm going to say that my era was Showtime, the Inglewood Forum.
Yeah,
that's what I was.
My dad reminds me all the time. Yeah, man. My dad was like, "Kobe's nice, but there's no magic."
No magic.
We ain't gonna get into it, Dad. Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
All right.
Man.
So now this will be helpful for the listeners that may even be in your field, right?
Sure.
You mentioned something about pitching. You pitched to a network and they they didn't go for it, but this one did. Now, also, when it comes to being able to create your own content, produce it, put it out there, there's obviously finance involved, right? Yes. So now going out and get financing. And so in short, I'm not asking for a whole class on it or anything like that, but what's that like, pitching and finding financing?
So that's a word I didn't know. And I've had to someone told me this recently. It's been kind of a motto of my life for the last couple of years, but like proximity is king. Okay. And so if there's a space that you really want to get into, you whether it's film and creative or wherever, and there's someone or a group of people that are doing what you want to do, get in proximity to them. Cause you'll learn, you know what I mean? I mean, yeah, you could, I could pay to go to film school or this, that, or the other, but just being on set with people and being on set with certain producers or execs or whatever has been the greatest educational thing out there. You know what I'm saying? You get to ask questions, you get to pick up on things people say, and all that. And if you work hard and people like you just, you'll be around proximity even more. So I think proximity is a big key to that. And what I would say, I think for my field, I think the thing that I've learned the most in this season has been hard work's really important, but I think like intentionality and asking people. Like film is a world where it's a lot of it's based off connections, but it's also based off of like very what's the word like a very specific call to actions, a very specific call, like asking people for stuff, like there's with YouTube and there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of different stuff. But I think if you can be bold and ask like what you want, the worst thing someone will tell you is no. And the best thing, the best thing that they can say is yes, but the most helpful thing is they'll tell you no, but then they'll also give you a why. And they'll give you something you can work on.
Okay.
And so there's been a lot of that stuff where I've just been like put in a spot to be vulnerable, just to ask, like, hey, here's a script I have. Like, what do you think about it? And someone will go, yeah, man, it's not great. But here's how it could be great. And I don't have to take what they say, but it does give me a frame of reference.
They also
for
didn't
like,
have to give you anything.
for sure. But they can give me, and I go, oh man, I don't want to be that way, but here's how I can maybe change it to, you know what I mean? And so you just begin to grow and be much more, you're putting yourself in a space to not hope for something to happen to you, but you try, oh man, there's this book I've been reading. It's been really good. It's like this book, top 10 traits of a highly effective person.
Okay.
And the number one trait is basically the trait is like, it's, you don't wait for something to happen to you. Like you make it happen. It's this idea of, I can't remember, I forgot the word, but it's this idea of you're not, just kind of hoping for something to fall into your lap. It's proactivity. It's proactivity is the word.
Productivity?
So, proactivity.
Proactivity.
Yeah. So you're being proactive. And so I think like in the film world and I think in most creative spaces, it is that. It's you're being proactive. You're trying to make something happen. You're not hoping it happens to you. And again, people will tell you, you'll hear a lot of no's. Like you're going to hear no's, but it's then being able to turn those no's into yeses or even maybes or you're getting closer and closer. And so, and you build allies, you build community, you build networks, you network with people, all that different stuff. And so, I think over this last 18 months or so, I've just been much more, I don't want to use the word forceful, but just much more like forceful and intentional about like, hey, I want to ask. And if you say no, you say no, but I don't want to waste time and kind of waiting, having this like lotto mentality. Like, I hope I hit the lotto. It's like,
you're waiting on them to come knock on your door.
And budgets is fun. The thing about Ultimate is that when we kind of hit it with social media and stuff, there's not one way to get in and one way to make it. But I think the common theme is being proactive, and even working with Glenn and some of the stuff that we did, it's sometimes you just make the content and you make it and you make it and you make it and it just gets on the right people's door. But like it took years of making it.
Sure.
Or, it might be, you're going to go through all the channels and try and get it pitched. But man, you got to have all your ducks in a row. You got to have stuff written. You got to have the budgets. You got to have the plan in place, because if someone does go yes and you're not ready to go, then they're going to pull that budget and give it to someone else. And so, either route, you got to work and you got to be proactive and building and ready to put in the work. There's a lot of people who are talking big right now, but what I find is that the door will open up to people who are doing the work and working and being active with it.
I love it.
So
I love it, man.
Yeah.
So help me out now. Actually, speaking of networking, one last thing I want to say or bring up from the conversation that we had before. Alyssa asked you, she had her dollar store question, and she said, if you only have a couple dollars, what would you use that on in your business? And you said,
ooh, that's good.
Getting somebody a cup of coffee. You said just grabbing a cup of coffee with somebody that you want to meet with, and just using that to get some information from them. So I think that again, that's shaking heads with somebody one-on-one.
And again, it's just getting in proximity. There's just nothing like being around someone that you want their job. Not like you trying to take their job, but you know what I'm saying? But they're doing what you want to do, and you get to see the ins and outs of it. Yeah. Man, there's the education purpose in that is priceless. It's honestly, it's priceless. So
yeah. Okay. So one of the things also that you dropped that I had no idea about was the Fresh Prince reboot. You were telling us.
Yes! Dude, how great is that? I honestly just finished that. So I went through this crazy season where the show dropped, and I was in production for this for a pretty long short film, and so I did this weird thing because I wanted for that show, I wanted to be like, nah, I'm here and I'm watching. So I didn't get to start it right when it came out, and I probably just finished that about a month ago. But yeah, man, did you see it?
No, I saw a couple episodes.
It was great. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
absolutely.
it.
And you told me, because one of the things that you had mentioned was that you really like the filmmaker. You like
Morgan,
the guy.
Morgan Cooper.
And so I had to look him up.
Yeah.
Right. And so now I want to know the ins. You know about what's in production way before it's happening. Tell us what else is coming down the pipe, man.
Yeah, I follow that guy a lot. He's one of those people that I would love to meet. Yeah, I know they're working on the second season of that. I know they just got greenlit for that second season of that show. I gotta finish. I think he's got. I have a feeling
you saw the talent though early.
Yeah, I feel like he's got another. I feel like he's got something else dropping that he hasn't shared yet. He seems to be a little bit quiet, but he's been on set a lot. I know. But yeah, I know that they wrapped that. They're in production for that. I know it did really well financially for NBC. I've been able to stay connected with a few people. I know it did really well.
Good. What else should we be watching? What other stories out there being told that you like?
That's a great question.
I know you're not in a bubble.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me right now, there hasn't been a whole lot of new stuff I've been on. There's been another show that I've really enjoyed. I don't know if I talked about it last time, but it was a movie called Blind Spotting, and then they converted it to a show on Stars, I think it was, and it's a show. It's something I've never really seen before. The way that it's like this really hype. And I don't like musicals, but it's this really weird spoken word. It's actually based on Oakland. It's this whole love story.
I feel like I've heard of this, and it's
Oakland.
kind of like a cult classic. Or
it's
something like that.
One of my favorite movies of the last 5 years. And then I didn't think it was possible, but the TV show I liked even more than the movie.
Wow.
And it's kind of one of those random things that it's not like a big show or anything, but. The way they incorporate, I think you would like the way they incorporate music. There's a lot of jazz into it too. There's a lot of spoken word. Really good, just really good themes of the living in that area and living, kind of growing up in that area. I think it was great, and I just the way they story told is something I hadn't really seen a lot of shows or movies do. So I love that. It's a little bit. It's about a year old now, so it's not like new, but I actually was just thinking about rewatching it because I know they got greenlit for a second season. So I was like, I might want to rewatch that again. But yeah, I don't know if I'll be in my car driving away. I'm like, I should have said this. Yeah, but
it's all good. Put us up on it. One of the questions that we asked in the last episode too was the influence. Was fatherhood having any more of an influence on what it is that you're doing? And it was so early.
Yeah.
Having that baby, you were kind of like, no, it's just about time. Nothing much changed. But now I've seen pictures and video of you having a youngster behind the camera.
Yeah, man.
You kind of
what's with funny the is there's like there's a whole movement, and I'm not trying to put down anyone, but there was this whole movement. People were like, just let your kids choose and do whatever, and and I definitely don't I don't want to force anything on I don't want to be the sports dad who's like, you're playing basketball, if I want my kids to do this, but I do think there's something powerful when your kids. I want to say this right. I think there's something just liberal. I think there's a special connection when your kids have some of the same passions you do. And again, it doesn't mean that they have to go in the same industry.
Sure,
and
but at least admire. Right?
But I think for my son to be around me when I'm doing what I love, I think again talking about proximity. I think that's important. I think, my parents used to always say leadership and also it's caught way more than it's taught. And so when you're around your parents or you're around mentors, you're around people and they're doing things the right way, the osmosis of that is powerful. That's right. And so I love just having my kids around on set whenever they can be, whenever I'm working. I love having, I hit the gym, I do some workouts, and my son and ultimately my son he loves basketball now and he he plays with he's got a little fake camera he likes to play with. And again, I'm not forcing that onto my kids. If he comes out and I don't want to do any of this stuff, all right, cool, son. But I do think there is something, I think there's some kind of deep connection there when your kids are able to see you do what you love to do.
I think that's the important piece of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is that you love to do it. It's one thing, you don't just take your kids to work. You don't even like your
sure,
job.
Yeah, I don't
They
want to
wanna see
model
dad
that
happy.
for sure. I want my kids to model like what it takes to work hard and what it takes, how you treat people on set, how, all that different stuff. Like I want my kids to see that, and hopefully what they see, they take with them whatever job they end up doing. And if that ends up being on a film set, I'll be cool. And if that ends up them working behind a computer in a cubicle, cool. But if they take those same principles, like that to me is most important.
100%.
So yeah, I love having, I'm pretty blessed that a lot of the spaces that I work, I have a lot of liberty to be able to kind of do that. And I know that's not the case for everybody.
Sure.
But yeah, man, having my son on set is really dope. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. I can see the pride.
Yeah, man, it's cool. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, man. I'm happy for you. It should be said, because you spoke about your dad's health. I'm glad that he's on the mend.
Yeah. My dad's doing great. He's he's back to himself and he's doing great. So yeah, I appreciate that for sure.
I love it, man. Congratulations to you on your health and your continued success. I really appreciate you being in here and sitting down with us and dropping more gems.
Anytime, man. I love being here again. And like I said earlier, I love being able to see the community grow and do well and operate in the spaces they're being. So yeah, anytime I can always come, and I don't know if I'm lending wisdom or what, but just coming and hanging out and just and speak on what I know. I love to do it. So
yeah. We will really appreciate it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give a couple pieces of the wisdom that you did drop.
Hey, man.
The business lessons of the day. Whatever season you're in, maximize it.
Maximize it.
And another one is get with the mentors where they are. That's where you want to be when you get to be their age. That's how you know what the right mentor is to be next to, be around. So I like that, man. You guys check out that Mamba Forever.
Yes.
That re-release coming at the end of August.
Yes.
Any other contact info, anything else you want to shout out to them? Tell them what to go check you out.
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I'm on TikTok, but not often. But yeah, just if you find me on Instagram, you'll find me. I'm pretty good about pumping out the stuff that we're making. And and we have a new thing dropping in September. We're really excited about. I can't give all details yet, but we have a whole new thing, something that is a major part of I think the next 10, 15 years of my life. Creatively, what I'm doing. So I'm really excited about that. And we're moving forward with some really cool stuff. So yeah, and hopefully you guys are seeing a lot more original short films, short web, short series, stuff like that, coming out pretty consistently, throughout from now on. So we're stoked on that.
I love it, man.
Yeah, bro.
Anytime we can spend time, man, I appreciate you.
Absolutely, Zeke.
All right, man.
Thanks, man.
Peace.
Yep.
Same business, different day.
Thank you for listening to Same Business, Different Day. We truly appreciate your support. Please like, subscribe, and leave a nice comment on all platforms. It really helps our show. The Same Business, Different Day podcast is produced by A Different Day Radio, Star Fox Media, and James Russell.